Hey, how's it going, Pop-Up Camper family? Welcome back to It's Poppin'. So we finally want to get back to actually doing some true work on our 2008 Jayco Select 12HW. Quite the mouthful. I know we've been doing a lot of work on the canvas, patching it up, all the fun stuff like that. But I finally want to get back to actually fixing up some stuff that needs fixing. And that is the front storage box. So we knew when we bought it that there was some damage to that front storage box, and we knew it'd have to be addressed in some form or fashion. However, and as you're going to see coming up here shortly, it's quite a bit worse than we thought. As you guys know from the previous episode, we had some patching to do on the aluminum here, but there's been some more issues uncovered as I've gone along, as you can see from all these little holes. So what I think I'm going to do is take off the box access panel right here. I'm going to take this all out. Oops. I'm going to remove our little sliding box right there, and then I'm also going to take off this entire box that we have inside of our front storage box and see if we can dig a little bit more into what's causing all this, or what the extent of the damage is. I have a feeling it was coming in somewhere up in this corner, or maybe something to do with this seam, but it had since been caulked over. So we'll see what we find in here. Not very good, unfortunately. Peeling back up this flooring, you can see quite a bit of water damage, and just feeling around it, it's pretty soft. So definitely gonna have to do something about this. As you guys can see, yeah, this does not look good. The aluminum is all coming off behind where that door was, and man, not good at all. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. It's just rotted behind there. Okay, so now that we've cleaned everything up and made it a little bit more tolerable, I feel a lot better about what we're looking at, even though it doesn't look great. So we've taken out that vinyl sheet flooring, and the floor doesn't look great, but the good news is all the way on the underside, from feeling from up and under the pop-up, it seems to be still structurally stable, even though it seems like the top of it's seen quite a bit of water damage. So what we're gonna do is try using some of this JB Weld wood restore to harden up some of that subflooring that we have here. So while this JB Weld wood hardener is drawing, let me explain what we're gonna do with this front corner box. So as you can see, we've got kind of some tape lines taped off here. And what the plan is actually is to completely get rid of the old access panel door and put in a brand new one that's bigger, hence the painter's tape. So our plan is to cut, of course, a larger hole in the side of our front storage box here to a rough hole of about 20 by 20, and that'll give us a front access door that's about 21.5 by 21.5 inches. And the cool thing about that size is that will allow us to hopefully slide our cooler in and out of our front storage box here. So we've let this dry for a couple days now, and actually I highly recommend that, because as it's, each day that's been going on, it's been getting the rotted wood, or the wood that was under the rotted wood has been hardening up even more and more as we go. I know this stuff says it is good after about 2 to 4 hours before you put in repair putty, but it's just been getting better and better. But I wouldn't have put the repair putty on after 2 to 4 hours, I'll just say that. So this is firming up really nicely down here, and as you can see, or not, we've got some areas that I pulled out that were damaged beyond repair that we're going to throw some wood putty into and level these out so it looks good. This has all dried, all of the plastic wood filler has dried. So what I'm going to do is sand this down and then see if there's still any low spots that need to be filled in a little bit more. All right, so we got a couple of layers of wood putty put down and sanded. Now the next step, what we're going to do is throw in some of those furring strips that we stripped out and that need replacing. So let me show you what I'm talking about here. So in here, as you can see, we took out a furring strip that was along the top here. But what we're actually going to do, because we're cutting a bigger hole, is we're going to move that up a little ways. But in addition to that, we have a furring strip on the left here as well as on the right. I have to kind of play with exactly how wide I want those to be, because we're going to widen out this hole a little bit more than it is already. Money So, as you guys can see, I've got our access door all framed out, essentially how it was before. However, with the smaller door, this furring strip was a little lower, so I bumped that up, and it's actually so close. Probably could have gotten away with like a 2x4 here or something like that, but nevertheless, essentially the same thing. And of course, because we have this wider door in here, what I did is I just used some simple shims to make up this it's about 3/16 of an inch over here. And of course, all these got screwed in, and then we used the Craig jig to get a little bit more support. So I'm actually really pleased with how all this turned out. The only thing that I'm not too pleased with is the fact that I made a stupid mistake, and that is I guess squared out these corners when, of course, as you can see, they should have been rounded out. I completely forgot about that fact, and I'm gonna have to do something about this. Nevertheless, I think I found a solution, and that is simply going to involve making some little corner brackets with the same furring strips, and of course going over that with the JB water weld, just like over here. So I've got all of the water weld on. It's been sanded down in all the spots where we were missing this aluminum. It doesn't look cosmetically perfect, and obviously sanding took a lot of the paint off the aluminum, but my hopes are, and this isn't gonna be in the short term at all, but my hopes are to at some point repaint the camper, at a minimum this panel, if not the entire camper. I think that would be a challenge or a fun project that we haven't tackled before, and see what that all entails. Some other thoughts I had were, of course, taking off all the vinyl and doing some custom vinyl that might cover up some of these flaws we have in this front box. Even though now it's 100% watertight, it like I said before, it doesn't look cosmetically perfect, but that's to be expected when you have some water damage. The next step, now that we have this all framed out and ready for the door, is to actually not put the door in. What we're gonna do is take an oil-based primer, that the same stuff that we've used in the cabinets in the past, and put primer on all of this exposed wood. We're gonna prime the whole box here too. So walls, floor, everything, just to give it a nice coat, cover up some of this wood filler, etc. And then our plan is to paint an enamel paint on the walls here, and actually do a spray-on bed liner for the flooring. I think that'll be a nice robust flooring that will endure, being used as the flooring of a storage box. So unfortunately, as you can see, when we're putting on the Lauan here, that thin strip was just too thin and it split when we were cutting it. So I guess we're gonna try and use some wood filler just to fill in that gap, and so then we can paint over it. Got a quick update on our box here. So we went with what we thought was more of a gray paint on the walls, but it ended up being a pretty shiny silver, almost metallic like color on the walls. But That's all right. It's just the front box. Not exactly what we expected, but nevertheless looks a lot better than it did. So I also wrapped all of our electrical wires in some of this kind of conduit stuff, make it look a little bit neater. I have to tack those onto the wall where they were, however. And so the next step will be, of course, to lay down the bed liner on the flooring here. Now that we've got 3 coats of the bed liner on, it's essentially time to throw in our actual, I guess, access panel door right here. And this is just going to be simply throwing some butyl tape on the inside, so that way we get a nice seal in between the wall here and, of course, our access panel door. We're going to drill some holes and screw it into our new framing here. And then finally we'll finish it off by throwing some silicone around the edges just to make sure that everything's 100% watertight. Fortunately, there is hope for those of you who might also have some water damage to your front storage box, or really anywhere else in your pop-up camper that affects that subflooring. So at least from what I saw and with our pop-up, the worst parts were maybe, if I had to quantify it, I don't know, 50% damaged. But by using that Wood Restore epoxy, allowing it to really soak in and harden back up, in addition to the wood filler, that really seemed to work and allow those damaged parts to regain that structural integrity. Now, if it's completely rotted through, I mean, unfortunately, that's going to be almost a job where you have to go and completely replace that subflooring, that plywood flooring, and I could tell you that that's going to be a lot of work, taking off walls and all sorts of not fun stuff. But if it's not too bad, there is some hope. And of course, we'll see how our repair job holds up over time. Of course, time will tell on that one. Now, going forward, and as some of you may have kind of seen in a bit of a preview, we created a cooler sliding drawer for our front storage box. And by doing that, and I don't want to get too much into it, but you'll see in the next video, we kind of strengthened out that flooring even a little bit more. So I'll just leave it at that. Watch the next video where I detail how I made that sliding cooler storage box, and there's also a few ways I determined I didn't want to make it first. So we'll detail that all in the next video. And as always, guys, hopefully we see you in the next video. If not, hopefully we see you out there camping.